So, for our novel tests, did anybody grade the first parts of them?
I'm working through
Yes.
most of that.
Did you guys notice anything as far as your data, like of the questions? I went through and looked at which areas that they bombed, which were the fill in the blanks.
Wasn't that last time also, or no?
From our last one, probably, yeah.
Number one for the multiple choice was usually the one that they got wrong the most.
When
Which
it
one
was
is
the
that?
right answer?
Who was Mogram?
Oh, really? Huh.
They were always answering the dwarf. Most of them answered the dwarf.
Oh.
Interesting. When I looked at mine, and I know we said we weren't gonna do the responses, but I, overachiever, I did the responses. No, I'm kidding. But no, I looked at the responses. But for the multiple choice and the fill in the blank, same thing, the fill in the blank with the vocabulary, any of the vocabulary questions mostly is what they struggled with, were the vocab words,
Yeah.
which was the fill in the blanks, and then, what was it, the other one, the matching?
Mine,
Yes.
the matching, they were fine with. It was the
Yeah.
fill in the blanks that they,
You're
Yeah,
not
the
used to
multiple
learning.
choice was mostly number one that they got wrong, and just about every other one they got right. The fill in the blank was where they really bombed it, and true and false would,
I did have a couple of
on
those.
average, 2 to 3 wrong.
We're
Majority
not
of the time.
giving, they're not getting those kinds of tests very much anymore.
Yeah.
No,
And
they're
they're
not.
not used to
They're
it.
not used to that.
And
Yeah.
we gave
That's
more
one thing.
words than blank, they had extra words in their word bank.
Yes,
So I
I do
think
that
that-
myself though.
Yeah,
That's
and
how
I
I
think,
differentiate.
I mean, I think they need to get used to that, but I think that was part of the hiccup there. But most of my kids in basic was the extended responses, is what killed them. I mean, they missed like 2 or 3 of the vocab, but everything, I mean, it wasn't awful.
I did one class of the extended response just to kind of get a gauge before we came in here, but they had trouble with citing the evidence.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, which we did
They don't
the
retain
entire
anything.
year. So I don't know what that was about, but
Yeah.
it's like they would say the answer, but then that was it. When we talk about conflict, we talk about character versus character. And they would say, well, they were fighting with so-and-so, but they wouldn't necessarily talk about why is that a conflict, how is it in the story. It was just very basic.
It was, I know this because it happened throughout the whole entire story.
Right.
And I said, that's not, that's not text, it's me, it's not text evidence, guys.
Right.
So, which is good though, because then when I looked at this to say, okay, who didn't get it? They got it, and their short responses like made sense, it was just the text evidence. So that's what we're not getting from my
Right.
group.
And that's
It wasn't that
practice.
we didn't get the story, it
That's
was
what I was-
we don't get the,
Yeah, I
the
was gonna
text
say,
evidence stuff.
it's practice.
Practice
Even
and
though we've been
modeling
doing
that,
it,
yeah.
I think we need to be more basic at the start of next year.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
show
This is how you do it, you have
to
to,
a
yeah,
paragraph
I agree.
and find it in a paragraph first
Yes.
and do
And
that.
whether it's a test or whether it's a classwork, this is how it needs to be.
Right.
written. Because I know sometimes on classwork, we'll talk about how they can change it or they can edit it or they can revise it. But I'm not as like, this
Right.
is
Right.
it. This
Right.
is,
Right.
on
It's
a
wrong.
test,
Right.
I'm like,
Yes.
this is a
Yeah.
test. It needs to be, so maybe from the start.
Stay
Well-
within the text and just stay there with that.
And it needs
not
to be, and I hate to
branch
throw this out there, but it has to be across all the disciplines. I mean,
Oh, I
in
agree.
social studies, they have to be learning to do it there too, not just in literary text, so I
And
think that's.
hopefully, with us, with writing, with that informational writing, that's really what it's about, is reading those texts and taking that evidence and then writing it. With that as being our focus,
Mm-hmm.
with informational writing, hopefully that will keep it across the board.
Yeah.
And everyone will understand, but I'll be honest, I think that it is a real process that we all need to learn. It's different kind of writing.
Right.
It's different kind of thinking to go back
looking
into
into
there
the
and find
yeah.
that evidence, absolutely.
They're not used to it
You
yet.
know.
Right.
Because
They're not, and even as teachers, I'm becoming better at it when I read things. I find myself now, when I read, like, check out articles
Right.
to everybody, I'll read it with that in mind,
Yeah.
but I didn't do that prior to that, I know I didn't.
I have some kids who are attempting it, like they'll paraphrase something, but it's
Yes.
so
It's
general.
right.
It's not
Yeah.
even like.
Or they absorb it as their own and never say that it's
Right.
theirs.
It's
So
an art.
Well, and I think too, we did focus a lot on text-based evidence for informational, but this is fiction. And so I think part of it is that they're not
Making the
crossing
connection.
that, yeah.
nobody
crossing
said
that bridge.
something in here
Yeah.
other than the
Yeah, they're
character.
like, wait a second, yeah. So yeah, I think that is also a difficulty. But I took those graphic organizers that you had forwarded to us at the
Mhm.
beginning of the week,
Mhm.
and so to get them ready for that debate, with my basic kids, I really broke them down, because obviously they don't know how to use the text evidence and they need it for this next step.
Right.
So I used that with the basic kids, and I was like, okay, we clearly don't understand, or we need a refresher, here we go.
Yeah,
We did that.
Did you have any good exemplars of?
I did my advanced blew it out of the water, you know, they got
Most
it.
of my
all of it.
advanced,
Yeah.
So
I
those
did one
can
class
share.
and most of them, it's like 10. You
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
they've
Yeah.
gotten the points.
Yeah, I think so. And so, yeah, that's what I noticed, advanced versus basic, is
Mhm.
they know how to do text evidence, and most of them, you know, there's still a few, but they got it, basic does not.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference.
When you looked at your advanced tests,
Uh-huh,
I had like 24 get number 22 wrong.
was 22.
Which was 22.
Oh, that was
You know,
central
like,
conflicts?
no. It was in this
No.
section,
Gotcha.
because the numbering was.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Number 22 was procession,
Oh. Yeah,
which we
that's
discussed in
weird.
class, and I,
Yeah, Tom just asked me about that today.
right.
Yeah, you think they would know that. I mean, that one's procession, that's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that definitely talked about with
Which
the
surprised me.
going around the islands, yeah.
They repeated it more than one time, so
Huh.
I was a little like, And a lot of them put henchman for fell. You know,
So
it's
it's still
just.
vocabulary.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
it's
a
still
lot
the
of
vocabulary. So that's what I noticed, is mainly the troubles they had were also were the vocabulary fill in the blank.
Both of these books are really heavy with vocab.
Yes.
So next year, if we choose to stick with both of these
Yeah.
books,
We need to maybe narrow
Yeah.
down the vocabulary and.
yeah, because there's a lot.
Especially
For every
Peter Pan
chapter.
especially,
Yeah.
I think was like, wow, that's a lot of vocab.
Well, it is. I mean,
And
Peter
totally
Pan
different
is
type
not
of
language.
lingo going,
Yeah,
yeah.
a late book, really. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, you know, it's not the Disney
And he-
movie. I don't
No, and
think.
he writes very differently than
Right.
I taught at all, so it was
Yeah, the
good
kids
though.
thought it was interesting, because when they were talking about, part of our review, we were doing point of view, discussing point of view with it, and how sometimes it would be like, now I'm gonna take you over here. So it said
Yes.
I said, yeah, but is he the narrator in the story?
Right.
They're like,
I
no.
don't know.
But he talks to us, the reader, because it says, and now you reader.
He has
a
Right.
lot of
He-
asides.
He does, he
Yes,
kind of goes
definitely.
back and forth.
So they're not used to that. That was a whole different concept of reading, I think. Too.
So that was interesting, but when it came down to them knowing it, they knew. And I know the review that I did helped them
yeah,
also, because I really pinpointed and focused on the type of things we're gonna be focusing on here. Like I did a couple of examples that would be similar to vocabulary, I did a couple of examples that would be similar to, okay, what is this character known for? So the review helped them kind of get things together and think through it, but advanced I noticed a bigger difference. Now, as far as scoring them, like I had 51 of my 66 students get number 10 wrong in Narnia.
Ooh,
in Narnia.
Number
What's
which
10?
one?
Number 10.
Yes,
50
I
good.
had a lot.
that was a
Usually
vocab.
it was began to slacking or
They put
Yeah.
barking. They
Yeah.
put barking.
that. I had
Began
thrush
to
a lot
barking,
there,
yeah.
and I had
Right.
barking.
Did
Yeah.
you say flash?
A great hound
The
picked
bird,
up
right?
the,
The bird.
which is
That
sent
was the
and
choices.
began to, and they put barking.
Barking, yeah.
Because they, well, and
Well,
they,
yeah, but look at where they are.
But that's
They're
not
in
the
Tampa
meaning.
Bay.
But
Yeah.
and it's
You know,
not-
that's not something that's easily.
And if you looked at it, it's not even grammatically correct. Like,
Right.
But they said, oh, I know barking, here we go.
They just-
And they didn't
and
pay
they
attention
spent
to
like,
the
does it
grammar.
make,
Mhm.
you know,
So, I mean, I don't know if
Optically,
this is
it's
something
okay.
we want to consider eliminating that question, because 51 out of my 66 at least, or if you guys want to look at your numbers and decide if that's something we want to eliminate as far as points, if they got it, either offer it as extra credit or go back and adjust grades.
And maybe for the next time we do something like that, it should be the vocab that we've actually taught specifically, and then see if they can use it in that sentence, instead of it just being a word from the book that they may have just skimmed right over
Right,
and
and
not
that's
really.
the narrowing down. I know we went over a lot of vocabulary, but it was so much
There
to
was,
say
yeah.
Right.
that we're only going to look at these words here out
Right.
of the 100 that we
Right.
saw throughout the
So
novel.
we could like pick and choose, maybe more, have a little heads up on that kind of vocabulary stuff
Right.
for the next.
Right.
Okay, so that's something we'll look at for next time. As far as our debates and looking at this information, it should give you an idea who knows what happened in the book to help them with their debates. I did forward these to you. I don't know if you guys had time to look at them. for like your body paragraphs, this may be a good way for the students to kind of go through and form their body paragraphs. It's called meal, but there's one that has like a double meal. It has 2 evidence pieces in it. But I gave this one to all of the kids doing body paragraphs, basic and regular, and I gave this one to students who maybe are struggling a little bit more, and for them to find one piece of evidence is enough for them. So, I mean, that's one way that we could provide that assistance, especially for the ones we know that maybe didn't
And the differentiation.
understand or get it.
I gave this one to all my basic kids because
Yeah,
like
that's
I
what I was
said,
gonna
it was
say, it's
very obvious
differentiating
that
for
they
them.
didn't know
Right.
how to do text evidence in their answers, so I gave this to them. And I think that made them feel a little bit more confident when they were working on their body paragraph for the debate. Here's what I need. And you know, and I've used other terminology with them throughout the year, so I had them write in the terminology that we used, and I told them the biggest difference is that E for evidence, in that you need that, because that's mostly what they were missing on this.
Yeah.
So, and that's, I could visibly see some of them be like, okay, and now I've got a little bit more of a
Right.
concrete graphic organizer. And I told them, I said, hang on to this for next year, because 7th grade, you know, you might want that. So, but I like this, and so I might even start, like you said, Marilyn, start them out at the beginning of the year more. This might be a good starting point, and then we can move to this one mid-year or
So
something.
that they're
Yeah.
doing it for every single thing we read.
Yeah.
They're using text evidence.
Yeah.
Starting small and go.
Because this
yeah.
isn't argumentative focused at all.
No.
It says main idea, and I'm telling you, well, what do you mean main idea? I'm like, that's your topic sentence. That's what you're gonna be focusing your whole paragraph on. And they're like, oh, okay, so.
Yeah, and so then
Did you
I
make
think,
it? I found it online.
if we start them like that at the beginning of the year, and then that way they know we have to follow this for our test answers. And we have
Yes.
to follow this for our
Everything
essays
we-
when we're writing.
Yes.
Well-
And we have to, you know, we can use it in social studies. Oh, look at
Yeah.
that, you know what I mean? I don't know.
And that's something, you know, to share with your teams too.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, your
Yes,
team,
definitely.
well, that might be something that as a group you can work across the
Yeah.
board. Absolutely.
Professional
And
And
development
if we
for
have
writing.
a simple
Right.
enough rubric.
Oh, I
for
can,
them
yeah,
to
if you think about it.
utilize
Want
that.
Yeah, I do.
I don't remember.
Yeah, and I would thought. Okay.
So, yeah, I think it's a good idea to start with this next year and make sure, just so they have that format down, because it's like out of mind, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But as far as debates, how's everything that's going? Are they getting the topics? Are they understanding? Like,
They are.
They
You know,
are.
gifted advance looked a little with the inequalities, but when I
Yes.
explained it to them a little bit, they're like, oh yeah. And I asked them if they wanted to volunteer, and a lot of them wanted to do that. So I was like,
Oh.
all right, yeah.
Did you do volunteers either?
No, I advanced.
Did you volunteer, or like how did you pick
I just
your?
let them pick.
You did, and they all picked.
They didn't pick the literature.
No.
No, but I mean, do you have enough for each side of the debate?
We're gonna be doing ours tomorrow and Friday, actually giving them, so, I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see.
We'll see how it goes.
We'll see.
Yeah, because mine are at the point where they're writing their draft, I guess, of their debate part, and then they're going to edit and revise and practice tomorrow, because I talked to them.
So it's Friday, they're still out to go.
Right, and I, 5th period, I'll just see where they get, if they
Yeah.
don't finish, then we'll have to do it Monday,
That's, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
How are your kids doing with it? Because you just said the basic.
We started the drafts yesterday, and they continue to do it. The actual essay portion is due tomorrow, and we're going to start the debate tomorrow.
Nice.
Oh,
I think because of the fact that I've got only 13 in first period,
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, that's a big
I can only do
difference.
technically really do
Two.
one topic.
Yeah.
So far, I've only had one kid who apparently didn't read the book. But
Nice.
Who are
so,
we talking about?
but they pretty much
What? There's a book in
decided
class?
in their groups who's doing what,
It's
who's
like-
doing what paragraphs, who's typing, who's so they pretty much owned the
What they're
groups.
doing. That's good.
I think second period's the only one that I actually have 4 groups.
I have a student who arrived last week. So I had him
Oh.
listening to the book as we were
yeah.
doing things last week. So this week, he's like, I want to be part of this, I can argue. I was like, okay, so let's get you a part. And then he's looking at it, he's like, well, when did this happen? But his group's so good at helping him, so that's good. That could be out there. Right, yeah, if you wanted to do
I want to like,
it.
yeah, cycle that.
Go for it.
Okay.
But I'm excited to see what they say. Some of the ideas are really good. It'll be interesting because we talked about when you give a debate, you need to put some oomph behind the way you say it. And they're all like practicing. That's why. They're like, can I hit the table to prove my point? I said, sure.
If you need to.
Person?
I said, just remember though, you don't want to make everybody laugh because then they might not believe you. They're like, okay. So,
It's a fine line, guys.
right, yeah. So it'll be
Sorry.
interesting to see what they do.
That's good.
The ethics into it. The compare and contrast, which is what's coming next.
Mhm.
I don't know if we want to throw out product ideas because I know we have the rubric already. I don't know if we want to talk about different ideas as far as what your product is, or because I know we said you can do whatever.
I know.
Do we have poster paper or anything available to us? Because like my chart paper is like, I'm down
I
to
have
2 pieces.
poster board.
Do you?
You have some?
I have a lot of white.
Okay.
And I have some that's cut, you're welcome to it.
Oh, thank you, Don. That's appreciated.
Chart paper, and I mean, seriously,
Okay.
yeah, you're welcome to it.
So I know we did posters, I think, last quarter. So I'm gonna offer that, but I was trying to think of other things they could do too. I had a couple kids do Prezzies, and they have an app on their electronics, so I thought I might offer that if they have their own electronics to do it,
Right.
because it's not online. And then,
You know what else is a good one is that haiku deck. It's free and it's really, you can grab a lot of good images with it. It's
What's it
called
called?
Haiku Deck, Haiku. And it's both for Android and
and what is
for
it, what
Apple.
can you do with
It's a
that?
presentation.
Okay.
It's really easy. The kids, I was using it with Barbitton's kids, they picked it up really easy and very cool. And they do actually a presentation. It's kind of like on the form of a PowerPoint in a way, but then they can email it to you and you
Okay.
can present it. But it's an easy app to use.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's just an idea.
They could do, I'm sorry.
Go for it.
I had kids last time do like little book talks and like they just sat down and they scripted their little conversation that they would have, but it would be like a book group, you know,
Yeah.
and they would compare their book to the movie
Okay.
and they would, they'd read their little scripts, but it was cute because then we were just watching them have this conversation and talk through the
That's
movie
nice.
versus the book. And so I thought that would also be a good option for them.
So you could do like a
Well,
mini
that's real
Socratic
visual.
seminar, sort of.
Mhm.
Sort
where
of,
they
yeah.
come together with their similarities and differences
Yes.
and they sit around and talk about
Yes.
That's a really good
That'd be
idea.
fun.
Yeah, I mean, and they liked it and they were comfortable with their group, so it went.
And you can do it in class.
Oh, wow.
It's
Yeah, I
not
like
to go
it.
home and do anything.
Right now, and that's
Yeah.
going to be the last week or
Yes.
it. Next week.
Yeah.
next
Next
week?
week.
Yeah, I mean, that would be really.
Friday.
Right.
Yeah, next week on
It's gonna
Friday.
be
So
over
Friday to
before-
last day of school.
Right.
So that's the other thing, we want to keep it kind of,
Right.
Yes,
Simple.
that's what I mean. If they have to go home and do a
That's
bunch of
good
stuff,
idea.
they're not gonna have time.
Mhm.
I like that. Because all the kids love the, are we going to do Socratic seminar again?
Yeah.
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 So maybe.
But we don't have
I
to
might
set it
want
up
to do
like that.
No,
You know, we
no,
could
no,
just
no.
set it up however we
Right,
want
like
to.
a little mini, they sit around and whatever and talk about it if that's what, you could
They can
make
have
it
their
any
book
way
in
you
their
want.
hand.
yeah,
Because we have the rubric, as long as they meet that criteria, then
Right.
that'll work.
yeah, and that's why they script, so they can make sure, here's where we talk about this, here's where we talk about this on the rubric, and that's that.
And they can submit their script so you can make sure just all the points
Right,
work.
exactly.
I like that.
That's a great.
Yeah, that's a good idea. What are we gonna call it? Let's call it.
I like it. Book talk.
But
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I like that. Okay. Next year.
oh gosh, wait a minute. Let's get through this year.
We have one more meeting.
We're ready. We don't want to do anything next year. We're gonna just kind of.
We worked too hard this year.
So we planned all this year, so we're done.
We're done.
Yeah, it's just cool, smooth sailing.
I hope you saved everything because I did not.
Actually, I might. Okay. Next year, I know we have one more meeting after this and we'll probably talk about it further, but ideas about, did we like doing the novels? Did we like how
Back
they
to
went?
We
I-
need to spread them out a little, I
Just-
think.
Like one first semester,
Yeah, I
second
think that would be
semester?
a
Do we
lot
still
better.
want to do the novels the way we did it this year? It's,
Just-
I mean,
If we do and we want to just focus, no, we would want to focus in maybe a little tighter, something like that.
Right. I would suggest if we spread it out and did novel first semester, second semester, I would do novel second quarter and not first quarter, just because first quarter, we're still trying to drill into basics, and, you know.
and so many things
different.
are.
Yeah, like this,
Right.
that's how you write that, yeah.
Did you guys-
Tropicana speech is going to be moved earlier as well.
Do we know what FCAT's going to be?
Do we know what it's going to be?
Or what it's
When.
going to be?
Where.
If or when,
When.
or where.
Anything about
Air.
this?
Actually, yeah,
Is 4 times, is this the?
No, it's going to
Okay.
be just at the end, thank goodness, but,
Okay.
it's going to be air. And then there's, so Jen Wasilewski was here today with the other 8th grade PLC, and she shared that there's a Senate bill going through now with like specifics
Air is
on
the
it.
name of it.
Like
Air-
AIR?
I think it's AIRE even maybe. I thought it was AIR, but
think they're gonna
someone's
do
saying E. I don't know. But it'll be,
Once a
you
year,
know,
somewhere
once a
towards
year
the
at the
end,
end.
March
Yeah,
or
at the
whatever.
end. Discovery Ed will be used again.
Okay.
So that's something that I think that we really need to take a look at, Discovery Ed, and really use that
Utilize it more.
data and use it to guide the instruction. I know this year's was, we didn't really even know about Discovery Ed till, but really, because there's some really good things in there.
There
And
is
we
some
know
good things in
that.
there. Yeah.
So
I
it
know that
takes
we
some
looked at
time.
that for some of our assessments, but it was,
Mm-hmm.
the way you searched for
Yeah.
items was just not, like you had to look through
Everything.
everything.
It was very
Um,
time consuming.
We gave them that feedback when we were at
Right.
the last workshop. I said, and when they asked for feedback, some of the things when you search for the standards, some of the stuff that comes up is
Right.
elementary
Right.
as and so I wrote that feedback
I
on the
wrote that
survey
down.
because I said that's not helpful, So hopefully there'll be some things tweaked over the summer too, so that will help.
And that board builder part, that was really cool.
That is cool.
I mean, that, I can see even using that for some of your
Yeah.
products
Yeah.
then, so.
Yeah. and
But I
hopefully-
do think, we want to probably spend a little bit more time with Discovery Ed and make it meaningful, because it is good. I mean, and once you go in and you start looking at the questions themselves, I mean, it's enlightening, but I do know that for sure. And AIR is our assessment. They are testing grades 3 through 11. 10th grade is still supposed to be a hot year, that they have to pass the 10th grade AIR, I guess now. And then, but I'm testing questions if they pass it in 10, 11, but I guess they're taking it. But in writing, she said today that they're mentioning 4th, 8th, and 10th grade again. But I kind of, I wish that writing was everywhere, because that, it's common, for
Yeah.
standard. It embeds everything. I mean, that writing drives. So anyways, I don't, that's what we know now.
Okay.
Okay.
Today.
Yeah,
Tune in
these
tomorrow.
will stay. She said those will stay.
These will, they're gonna
Yeah.
be pulling these down, and they may have already done that, because they're gonna tweak all of the units.
Okay.
There'll be a few changes with certain standards being moved to different quarters next year.
Oh,
Just a few little tweaks that they got feedback from, and they said, okay, that makes sense. So Language Arts will put that up on Canvas, I think she said in June.
okay.
And then they're going to be re-looking and pulling down all the scales, having a group look at the scales, having a group look at all of the unpacking of the standards, and then putting those back up. And I think, again, she said June for that. So that we have them for next year to use from the beginning. And I was wondering, because I know I mentioned, and I don't know if people agree, or when I taught in Maryland, we had with each unit you had a theme or a focus, a topic to go with it. And I don't know if that's something that we're interested in and want to think about for next year.
Well, I believe that this summer, when there's that one day that they're having the LSI come in for language arts and reading, and you all can sign up for that. It's here at Rushe through Avatar for that Monday. I know that Jim talked to you.
Right.
And then the next 3 days, we're going to be writing units. 4, 6th grade.
And are they going to make them
7th, 8th.
thematic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so there you go.
Done.
Reading, I know
Okay.
last year I worked with a group in reading, we started to do that, and I think it's very helpful to have
Yeah,
that
like fairy
overall
tales, where you
theme
kind of focus in
to
on
be able
fairy
to bring
tales,
your
bring in
things
nonfiction
in.
text to
So
support
that
it.
is happening for everyone.
And that'll shape what books we choose
Yeah.
and things like
Mhm.
that too. So we might not be revisiting the same novels.
Right.
Right.
But if we got a novel choice, I would say second and fourth quarter, just because.
And I would think that, I like how, I think, like in advanced, we had Harriet Tubman. I think it would be nice to have a biographical
Yeah.
piece or something for the other
Yeah.
class.
Yeah, I think so too.
I
I
think
think
that
was
literature
good.
pieces.
Yeah, I agree. I think so.
So depending on where things are,
Yeah.
like when I was looking at things, I thought like first quarter coming of age survival, something like that, second quarter mystery, third quarter fairy tales, fourth quarter biography, autobiography.
And you could do that, I mean, because remember, what they develop are gonna be suggested
Right.
units
Right.
and
But
stuff,
you
so
can see
you
what
could
they have
take,
there.
exactly.
Yeah,
see
and
what
then
they put
add-
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just something to think
Absolutely.
about for next year, so that when
Okay.
you come in, if we want to do that, we can, if
Yeah.
we plan anything over the summer. You can, reminder that our.
And
That is
Are you gonna be with us? That comes off.
Yeah.
Are you gonna be with us?
I don't think so. I think I would just be going to history.
You're gonna go on social side.
Yeah.